This video is all about pop-up cards. I make a couple of pre-existing card designs and then use what I've learned from making them to design, make the art, make the finished product for my own pop-up card design. I hope you enjoy. Hello, welcome back to another video. In this one it's all about pop-up cards. I will be looking at other pop-up cards to get inspiration, and then from what I've learned, making my own pop-up card, and it turns out very cute. You can see a bit of a sneak peek back there, but not really. This video is kind of a part 2 to one which I made a while ago. I don't know how long it's been up on the channel, but I will link it in the description. In that video I'll show you what I made. In that video I made this paper craft, and I also designed my own paper craft. My mouse has fallen off here. So if you're interested in these little builds right here, last video, linked in the description. Tell you what, I'll leave them there. This video is also sponsored by Canon, and it's to promote the Creative Park website. If you watched the last video, you'll know all about it, but in case you missed it, I'll fill you in. Creative Park is a website made by Canon where you can download just loads and loads of free downloadable paper craft kits. That's where I got this one from. There's so much good stuff on there. I'll pop some stuff up on screen now so you can have a nosy, and it's all for free. You just sign up for free and you can download it all for free and make it. And there's some really lovely paper kits on there. They do like 3D models, they do 3D animals, they do cards, they do pop-up cards. There's so much on there. So this video is to let you guys know about the website. So I'm going to be making a few pop-up cards from the website, and then I'm going to take what I've learned from them to design, develop and make my own pop-up card, similar to how I designed my own paper craft kit here with the birdhouse. It opens up, but if you want to know more about this, like I said last video, they also have an app, so you can just download it on your phone, and it just works the same as the website, except you don't obviously need a computer or a laptop. You can just print everything directly from your phone as well. To help me out with the video, Canon sent me a box of goodies. In that box of goodies was a new printer. They sent me a Canon Pixma TS7750i. I'll pop it up on screen because it's quite a long name. So I've been using that printer to do all my little crafty bits and bobs. It also has a really good scanner as well. I have been a girl in desperate need of a scanner for quite a long time, so it's been a really big help, that printer. They also sent me some paper to help me make all these crafty bits and bobs. It's the matte photo paper, 170 GSM, 50 sheets. I'd say it's like the perfect thickness for crafts, because you don't want the paper to be like so thick where it's kind of hard to fold, but then it's thick enough to kind of, you know, feel secure. So it's a good paper for crafts. Okay, so to get myself started with making my own pop-up card, I wanted to see what kind of things they had on the website, on the Creative Park website. So I hopped on there, had a right good scroll through all the cards. There's lots to choose from, but my favourite two were these two. I imagine there's footage on screen right now showing what I did. So I made these two card designs. One of them was this really cute bear. I think it's supposed to be like a Father's Day card, or maybe you could give it like for your dad's birthday or something like that. It was so cute. Just the yellow of it really popped out to me. Hey, popped out. It's like a pun because it's a pop-up card. The pop-up element on this was pretty simple. It was like just a simple like step out, so that was relatively easy to do. And they also came with envelopes as well, which was super cute. And then the second card I made was this kind of just good luck card, and this had a much more complicated pop-up mechanism. It kind of blew my mind a little bit. Even though like I made it, I still don't really understand how it works. Obviously it was pretty easy to follow the instructions, but still like you like gluing it all together and you think, no way will this actually like just fold open, and then you glue it all in and then lo and behold it just does, and it like the way it just kind of twists open, it's so impressive. I did think for a while, should I try and do something like this for my own card? But I just figured I have a limited time limit and I have limited knowledge. I really don't know how this folding mechanism works. It feels like magic. So I decided to take more inspiration from the bear design with like the simple step out. So that's what I kind of ended up going for my own design, although I kind of tweaked it a little bit to have like an extra step, so it's like 2 steps, but you'll see that in a second. I also loved with these cards like how small and like cute they were. I think my favourite cards to make, because I often make cards for people's birthdays. I very rarely actually buy cards, because like why buy a card when you can make a card? So I always try to make cards myself, and my favourite cards to make, I always make them quite small, because that way they're quicker to make and I also think they're cuter. I just love a card which is cute. And yeah, I really like the size of these cards, so I decided to kind of stick to the similar size. So that was my inspiration. Really enjoyed making those cards, so I'll keep them tucked away, ready to give to someone when the opportunity strikes. So after I'd made those cards, it was time to move on to making my own card. So I started off by doing some quick scribbles in my sketchbook, but really barely anything, not even enough to not even enough to really show. It's not really worth showing. We're talking the bare minimum scribble. So I decided, you know what, let's skip the sketching stage and just move on to the prototype stage and figure it out as I go, because I had such a clear vision in my mind already. So I will hand you over to past me to talk through my prototype. Hello, welcome to the prototype station. I've been figuring out what I want to do for my card design. I've decided to go for this step kind of pop out element, which was on this bear one, because the clover one, as impressive as it is, I have no clue how to do that. So I'm keeping it simple with just like the step out, but I've added on one extra step. I've kind of messed up a little bit, like there shouldn't be that fold there or like there, but it doesn't really matter. So I've been drawing out my design. I did a bit of sketching in my sketchbook, but not really much. And then I just kind of got straight to it because I had a vision in my mind and I thought I'd go for it. So that's the first step. I need to glue all this down properly. And then the second step, I've got some mice relaxing on a picnic blanket. And it's just going to say, have a lovely day. That way you can use it for anything, birthday, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Valentine's Day. It's very universal. Have a lovely day. You can use it for anything. So it's just these mice relaxing in the flowers with a picnic. And then I've got a little, got a plate of cheese. My boyfriend gave me this idea, so thank you very much for that. Because I was thinking if I do a cake, then it's obviously a birthday card. So if I do cheese, then it can be anything. It just adds a nice little 3D element because it had it on this with the suitcase popping out. So I'm going to stick all that down. And I think on the front, well, obviously I'll need to have like an outside bit to cover it up, but I won't do that for this mock. For the outside, I'm probably just going to take, like when I collage this, I'll just take my favourite flowers, edit them onto the outside with have a lovely day written, just keep it quite simple. Because the outside of this one is quite simple, and I guess like the whole point of pop-up cards is that you have it displayed open, so you don't really need to do anything fancy for the outside. So I'm going to keep it simple with that. I've just realised a mistake in my plan. The top of the flower is extending out past the card, so I'll need to shorten this a little bit because you don't want any of the pop out to be seen from the outside because you want it to be a surprise. So I can trim that easily on the actual thing, make it a bit shorter. And it's all stuck down, so that's the plan. Now I just need to make everything. Okay, with my mock made, I had a plan for what I was going to do. I moved on to making the art. So for the flowers in the piece, obviously I was going to do it collage. Well, in fact, everything in this piece, other than the blanket, the picnic blanket, was all done in collage. If this is one of the first videos you've watched of mine, I am mainly a collage artist. I'm mixed media, but I tend to do a lot of my pieces in collage. All of this paper here, which I'm picking through now, I was basically making a yes pile and a no pile of papers then from my stash of papers which I've been collecting over the past few years. All of this paper is just printer paper which I've painted over various projects, and every scrap of paper gets saved. I don't like to waste anything, so I always save all my papers. So you can see there's just lots of scraps of paper of every colour spread out across the desk, and I'm cutting out shapes, mainly flowers and flowers, stems and leaves. For this collage I wanted it to be quite loose and playful with fun shapes and a little bit abstract and with a little bit of pattern as well. I was drawing like stripes on the leaves. So when I have this kind of collage in mind, I find it's always easiest to start with just a bunch of shapes. So I cut out loads, not really knowing where they would end up, not knowing if I'd even use them, but I like to just have a big collection of shapes which I can then choose from when collaging. So as you can see there, I've got a page full of pre-cut shapes, and I'm just gradually piecing them all together, seeing what shapes fit together nicely, swapping things out, cutting new shapes, moving things around a lot. You can see just how much toing and froing and indecisiveness there is before I actually land on a shape which I like. It's just a lot of, I don't know, getting a feel if a shape looks good or not. So this was going to be the kind of back main flower bit of the piece, the bigger flower piece on the first pop out section, if that makes sense. And then I made the smaller one, although I didn't film that because it was actually really simple. Here you can see I've got a lot of white from the page poking through. This is because I wanted the card to be mainly cream. I was inspired by the thank you card I made with like the clovers. I was inspired by that one because it just had a lovely cream background and I like the simplicity of it, and I'm just a sucker for cream. I really like using cream in my artwork, so I decided instead of doing like the whole inside of the card green, obviously because that would make sense, like flowers, nature, it would make sense for all of the card to be green. I decided to do more of like a simplistic design and have the cream poking through from beneath the flowers. So I was trying to leave a lot of white gaps so that it was like had more of a gradient out from the green in the center to the cream of the rest of the card. This will make more sense when you see it, like the actual finished thing together. I did in Photoshop, after I scanned this in after I made it, and I took it into Photoshop. I removed all the white background and I added a slight kind of green gradient underneath just with like the brush tool in Photoshop, which then gradiented outwards into the cream because I did want that green center, because I wanted like the mice to be sat on top of a bit of grass. Moving on now to the picnic blanket. I really didn't know what I was going to do for this. In my sketch I'd done kind of like a patchwork quilt thing, but I wasn't too sure if that would really work because there's so many colours going on with the flowers. I thought if the blanket is also really colourful, it's just too many colours. So I decided, you know what, let's just do like the classic picnic blanket, the red gingham picnic blanket. So that's what I'm painting here with these stripes. I did quite a few attempts because I didn't know if I wanted to go for like the classic gingham picnic blanket, or I did one with just thin lines, like thin grid lines, and then I did one which was more just little squares. I like to give myself options to choose from because as you can see here I'm just doing it all in a sketchbook, and I just kind of place things all in the sketchbook because I know that I will just edit it all together. So when I know it'll be quite a big Photoshop job, I like to give myself multiple options that I can then like swap and change and figure out what looks best in Photoshop. So even though I did paint these 3 blankets, I ended up just using the classic gingham one in the top right corner. And then for the mice characters, I cut them out of collage paper. I painted a sheet of paper with different like dry brushing textures. I found my favourite bit of texture and cut out these mice. These turned out so cute. They look even cuter when I edited them on Photoshop because I kind of changed their whiskers to be more brown and just tweaked the colours to be a little bit brighter. Oh, and I also gave them tails, but you'll see that in a second. As you can see from the mess on my desk, I have been making lots of art, so let me fill you in. So you saw me making these. This will be the obviously flower background, the bigger one, and then the smaller one. And then I'm hoping I can edit in, because obviously this has got like white poking beneath from the page beneath. So I'm hoping I can edit in some kind of like green gradient going like outwards, fading into cream, which the most of the card will be cream. And then I've written, have a lovely day multiple times, and I'll pick my favourite one to actually go on the card. Although I might end up just taking a picture of what I've already written and using that, because I quite like that, to be honest. I'll try out multiple things for the writing, and then I'm not really sure what I'm going to do for the picnic blanket. I've got 3 variations. I'll probably do something with this, although it's missing a row. I ran out of room, so I might edit, copy and paste that row there so it's 4x4, and that'll be the picnic blanket. Oh, and then I made myself a little plate of cheese which will go on top of the picnic blanket. That looks so cute. And then my mice, these turned out really nicely, and then obviously those are the tails which will be connected to the mice. I've done them separately because I've done them a little bit too low down, so I don't really have a lot of room to actually put the tails on so they can get edited on. Obviously done a few versions so I can pick the best one. Oh, how I did these mice is I painted a sheet of paper with lots of different kind of dry brushing textures with light brown, dark brown. I took my sketch of my mice onto the computer and made it, like scaled it to be bigger. Then I traced that onto some tracing paper. I mean, it's all cut up now. And then I used the tracing paper as a template to cut out the perfect shape for the mice, and obviously ripped it, added on extra details, went back in and added some more dry brushing. So now I need to scan everything in using the scanner on the printer they sent me, and do lots of editing now. Okay, with all my art made, it was time to scan it in, and so I used the scanner on the printer that they sent me. I scanned that in and took it into Photoshop, and I won't bore you with all the Photoshop stuff because honestly it is quite dull. It's just tweaking colours, editing out backgrounds, adding a few extra like bits with like the drawing tool on Photoshop, and then just making everything, like scaling everything to be the right size. It's not very interesting, so I'll skip over the Photoshop process, but it took me probably around a day to get everything edited and like be ready to be printed out to be the actual kit. And with all that work done, I had my finished pieces and I needed to bring it all together and make sure it worked. So I printed it off, yeah, got making, although there was a few hiccups, a few bumps in the road, and I had to redo it a few times, but you'll see that in a second. So I'll hand you over to a voiceover. Okay, so here are the finished sheets. I managed to squeeze everything onto just 2 sheets because I figured if people are going to be printing this out, I want it to be like as efficient as possible in using the least paper as I could. So I managed to just about squeeze it all onto these 2 sheets, as well as a little bit of the instructions as well. For anyone who wants to make these, I should probably mention where to get this. So if you would like to make this card, it will be available on my Patreon. I'm not entirely sure when this video will go out, so it's either available now or it will be available soon as a downloadable on my Patreon. That's where to get it. In the lowest tier on my Patreon you can get it, so you can make this pop-up card for yourself. Anyway, so I'm getting round to actually making the card, which was such a nice feeling after a long time of working and getting to this stage. Although you'll see in a little bit, I will realise I made quite a big mistake. It's not that noticeable now, and well, it wouldn't be noticeable if you kind of don't know the design. I didn't even notice it, and I did know the design. So you can see here this bit, like the pop-up element that I'm folding now, which is a little bit fiddly to fold. You've just got to be careful with it and go slowly, but eventually you can get it to all fold in nicely. Well, the issue with this is my blanket should have started at the bottom. Obviously that section where it's like labelled B. The blanket should have started right at the bottom of that section. So you can see here I've lined up the piece which is supposed to be stuck on top, and the picnic blanket is tiny. There's not enough room for my cheese. It's supposed to be that entire blanket is visible. So I realised my mistake, which was very frustrating because at this point it was late. It was late, guys, I'm not gonna lie. So I was like, right, let's hop back onto Photoshop and just move everything down. But it wasn't as simple as just moving everything down because everything has to be split into two, and there was many layers and I couldn't merge my layers because I had different, you know what, I won't bore you with the Photoshop stuff, but basically it was a lot fiddlier than it looks. It wasn't just as simple as moving the blanket down a notch. I also ended up adding on an extra bit of green because I figured it'd be nice for the green to carry on into the next, like behind the pop-up, because I thought it'd be weird if it just randomly stopped. So after about maybe 20 minutes of extra editing, I moved the blanket down, and that also meant I had to take some of the lines off, you know, where you'd write, you know, to, from. I had to sacrifice some lines, but now everything lined up. Yay, amazing, finished. Well, not exactly, because it was at this stage that I realised it was looking a bit plain. So then I added on more flowers to the back element. I realised like the back of the card, you could actually see quite a lot of it. And this is something you can't really tell in Photoshop when it's all on a screen, but when you actually physically make it, you realise, oh, it could do with some extra flowers in the back. So then I went back into Photoshop and edited more flowers. I just kind of copy and pasted flowers from the original design onto like the back of the card. So now there's like 3 layers of flowers as opposed to 2 layers of flowers with just a cream background. Oh, I love this little plate of cheese. This was inspired by the bear card that I made at the start from the Creative Park website that had a little suitcase on it, like a little 3D suitcase popping up. So I thought, oh, I have to do that for this. And a little plate of cheese was just a perfect thing for it. It's just such a cute element which adds so much, because without that plate of cheese, that blanket is like useless. It's like, why have they got a picnic blanket? They need to get some food on there. Finally, folding up the card, I was so relieved that the pattern lined up, because I tried quite a while to get obviously you can see the envelope opens and there's that pattern on the front. I was kind of guessing, I was hoping, fingers crossed, that they would line up, and thankfully they did. And then this is the finished card. I'm so pleased with it, and honestly I probably wouldn't have made something like this if it wasn't from the inspiration of the original cards I made at the start of this video. They were honestly such a big help, especially like giving me the idea to do the little pop out cheese plate and just giving me the idea to do the steps as well. I really didn't know where to start with pop-up cards, to be honest. It's not really something I've ever done before. Like I mentioned, you can get this over on my Patreon page. You can download it, make it for yourself. And also don't forget about the Creative Park website. There are hundreds of amazing crafts, 3D crafts, cards, pop-up animal things, just so much good stuff on there, and it's all for free. Like, I can't express enough how good this website is if you're into like paper crafts like me. Anyway, that's been the video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks again to Canon for sponsoring the video. All the links for all the various things I've spoken about will be in the description. And that's all from me. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.